What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today, we are continuing our PostgreSQL series, and in this lesson, we're going to be looking at string and date functions. Now, all functions are pre-built in commands within PostgreSQL to do specific things. And a lot of these functions are just really useful. It makes your life so much easier. And so knowing how to use them and what they do, that is half the battle. And so I'm going to show you some of my favorite string and date functions, ones that I've just been using for years. I use them all the time and they're worth knowing. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Let's start with this character name right here. So we're going to do character underscore name. Now, with this character name, sometimes they're formatted perfectly and they are like this. They're just formatted great. They look wonderful, but sometimes they're not. And a lot of times when I'm cleaning data or I want to standardize data, I'll use an upper like this. This is an upper string function, and I just pass through the character name. And if we run this, we'll get the exact same column, but now they are all in uppercase. Now, of course, things like numbers aren't going to change, but if it is a text character, which is A through Z, those are all going to be capitalized. You can do the same thing by doing a comma here, and we're going to say lower. And then we're going to pass through our character name as well into this function. Whoops, there we go. And let's go ahead and run this. And now these are all lowercase. And so these are two functions where you are actually changing whether something is uppercase or lowercase. And oftentimes you'll see some in all uppercase just by default in certain systems and databases because, again, they are trying to standardize things instead of having one be Luke Skywalker like this and another be Luke Skywalker all caps. They just want them all to be all caps, and so they do that by default. The next string function that I want to show you is length. And length is a really good one because it's going to actually count how many characters are in each cell. So let's go ahead and run this, take a look at what it gives us. So we have Luke Skywalker, that has a length of 14. Leia Organa, that has a length of 11. And so it just counts how many characters you have, and it gives you the output. And you may be thinking that doesn't sound very exciting, but there's actually a lot of kind of use cases for this. Let's just look at our table, and I'll give you a very simple example. For example, we have estimated net worth. So let's take this column, if I can spell it right. There we go. And I'm going to do the length. I'm going to copy this and do the length of estimated net worth. Let's go ahead and run this. That's not going to work because, of course, this is a numeric column, and that's to be expected. But I'm going to give you a little secret here. This is a little secret sauce, something that I do all the time. You can just convert it. You just make it into a string. All you have to do is come right here, do a double colon, and say text. And let's go ahead and run this. So when we were getting our length, all we did was convert this into a text so that we can use the string function. This is a function that works on text and strings, not numeric, not dates. So there are separate functions for specific data types, but this is just a little workaround. So now this would be a use case where I would say, if their net worth is 9, 10, 9, 11, 10, 8, 7, I can kind of see how much money they have, what their income bracket is, just by looking at the length of their actual estimated net worth. This is another example I've used it for in the real world where I was looking at phone numbers, and phone numbers are only supposed to have a specific amount of characters. And so I would convert it into characters and I would check it. And if there was one that had like 20 characters, I knew that that was one I needed to check on. And so I could filter on that and I could get rid of it. So this is something that I've used for a lot of different scenarios. It just kind of depends on what you're using it for. Now let's come down here and let's look at the next one. And let's do select everything. You need to spell select right. So when you're looking, especially at strings, sometimes you just want to take a portion of those strings. You don't want to take all of them, right? You just want to take some of the string, but not all of it. For example, let's come up here and let's take a look at the left. I'm going to do an open parentheses. And what we're going to do is we're going to pass through the character name. So I'm going to come back up just to copy it, make it go a little faster. But I'm going to take the character name, and then within this left, we're going to start on this left-hand side, and we can specify how many values we want to go over. So I'm going to say character name, then I'm going to do a comma. I'm going to say 4. Let's just say we want the first 4 letters of their name. Let's go ahead and run this. So now for Luke, we have Luke. Leia, we have Leia. For Han Solo, we have Han. For Chewbacca, we just have Chew. We're taking the first 4 characters from the left-hand side. We can do the exact opposite of this. If we copy this over, we can change this to, you guessed it, the right. Now we're going to start from the right-hand side and go over 4. Let's go ahead and run this. Now we're starting from the right-hand side. We're going over 4, and we are getting our output. The next thing we're going to look at is my personal favorite. This is probably the one I use more than anything. This is substring. And substring is great because you don't have to just start on the left. You don't just have to start on the right. You can start anywhere you want. So let's specify that we want it from the character name. And now we have to pass through 2 things. We have to pass through the starting position and the ending position. So we'll say from to, and we'll say for 4. And there isn't a comma here. That's my bad. Now let's just go ahead and run this. And now we have uke. So we're starting at position 2, which is the U, and then we're going to position 4, U, K, and E. So we're selecting 3 characters from this string. So this one can be really good. It just depends on the kind of data that you're working with. But if you need to select specific strings or characters from your text, this can be really, really useful. Now let's look at the next one. Let's come right down here. Go to select everything. Now, the next one is concat. And concat stands for concatenate. It just means to combine strings. That's all. And so we have 2 strings here. And let's do it like this. We're going to say concat. And then within our parentheses, we're going to take the character name. And I don't want to rewrite this. Let's take our character name. Then we'll do a comma. And now we can pass through another string. And we'll make this one like this. Is a, and then we'll do a comma, species. So we're going to say the character name, Luke Skywalker, is a, and then the species, human. Let's go ahead and run this. And it looks like I need a space after this. Really quick, let's run that. There we go. And now we have Luke Skywalker is a human. And we can add more to this. Let's say we want to add a period. Oops, I'm going to do single quotes. And let's run that. Let's put a comma there. Let's go ahead and run this. Now we have Luke Skywalker is a human. Leia Organa is a human. R2-D2 is a droid. Now we've made a sentence from this. We've combined characters. Now, a lot of times this is actually used with things like city, state, address, first names, last names, where you want to combine those things into one single column instead of having your data separated into multiple columns where it's not as useful. So that is concat, aka concatenation. Now, let's move on to the next one. And this next one is really good. It's replace. Now, why would you want to replace something? Maybe a value is incorrect. Maybe you just don't like how it looks. It doesn't matter. You can replace it. For example, we have has both arms is equal to n. And so what we can do is we can say replace, I need to spell this right, replace, and we'll say has both arms. And we're going to replace the no with a yes. So let's go ahead and run this. And I have too many parentheses here. Let's get rid of that. And let's run it. And now in our output, you can see for the has both arms, we've put it as a yes for everything. And we could do everything, comma here. Let's go ahead and run this. So now before we had no, yes, 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 no. And here we have all just yeses. Now, this might be an example of if we're replacing a character, we can say, okay, we want to give him his arm back if he's rich because maybe he bought another one. So let's look at Darth Vader. He has like 10 million. Let's put it over a million. We're going to say where estimated net worth is greater than, and I'll say, I think that's 1 million right there. Let's go ahead and run this. I think I've too much. Let's go ahead and run this. There we go. So now we've replaced the text only for people who have an estimated net worth of greater than that amount. We're going to make sure that they have both arms. Of course, we can call this and we can say as, and we can name this now has both underscore arms. And we'll run that. And there we go. So replace is going to take in that column, and you need to specify what you're looking for and then what you're replacing it with. Of course, you can add conditions to this as well in your query. Now, let's come down because we're now done with the string functions. Now we are going on to the date functions. Now, the only date column that we have is birth date. So I'm going to put birth underscore date right here, and let's run this. The first one that we're going to look at actually doesn't have to do with this column, but I'm going to keep it there anyways. But it's called current date. So I'm going to come right here. I'm going to say current underscore date. And let's go ahead and run this. And so this is today's current date. This is when I'm recording it, the January 22nd of 2026. This is compared to their birth date. And so you can see we can now start using this date to then maybe subtract it from their birth date. Let's actually do that in this column right over here. So we're going to say current date, and we'll do minus their birth date, and we'll say that's as days underscore alive. That should give us a date in terms of actual days, not months or years. So this person has been alive 17,651 days. Of course, we can also add their character name so we can see who this actually is. Let's go ahead and run that. But that current date is really useful. Now, there are some built-in functions to kind of do something like this because maybe we're trying to calculate how long they've been alive. We could also, and I'm going to come right here, we could also just say their age. So if we take their age and we plug it into the birth date, let's go ahead and run this. It's going to give us how long that person has been alive. So Luke Skywalker was born in 1977. He's been alive 48 years, 3 months, and 27 days. So these are both really good kind of built-in functions that you can use with the dates. Another really useful thing, and let's come right here, is we can do extract. Now, extract pulls different parts out of the date. So let's say we want to extract, we're going to pass through birth date after we specify the measurement that we're looking for. So we're going to say year from birth date. So we're just extracting the year now. So now we have the year pulled out. There's 1977. There we go. We're going to do the exact same thing, and you can guess it. We're going to, whoops, I need a comma there. We're going to do this for month. And let me put that all caps. Month and day. Now we can run this. And here's our month we're extracting, and here's the day that we're extracting. So we have 9/25, 9, and 25. So we're just extracting information out of the already existing date column. Now this is starting to get a bit much. Let's come down here, and I'm going to just keep this information actually. So let's go ahead and run this. The next one that I want to show you is intervals. Intervals are really important. Essentially what they do is they let you specify how much you want to add or subtract from a specific day. So what we can do is we can take birth date, and let me actually just bring this down to another line. So we're going to take birth date, and then we're going to say plus, and I'm going to say, when did this person turn 10 years old? Or when will this person turn 10 years old? So we can say interval, and then we're going to specify 10 years. So we're doing an interval of 10 years from this birth date. Let's go ahead and run this. So now we have 1977, 9/25, 1987, 9/25. These intervals can be really customizable. So let's come down here and we'll do another one. We can do an interval of 10 days, for example. Let's go ahead and run this. So now this is 10 days later. You can see 9/25 goes into the next month of 10/05. Now the very last one that we are going to take a look at, and we can keep it in this one, why not, is truncate. Now truncate is kind of like a rounding function for a date column. If we do date underscore trunc, I need to spell this right. If we do date truncate, we can pass through the measurement that we're wanting. So this will be right at the beginning. We're going to say year, and then we'll do a comma, and we'll have the birth date. Let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like. So for this person, Luke Skywalker, was born in 1977. So was Leia. They were born on the same day. Shocking. But if we come over here to the date truncated, is going to the very first day of that year. So essentially rounding down to the year that they were born, or the very first day on the year that they were born. We can do the exact same thing. Let me get that comma in there. We can do the very same thing, but we could specify we want the month. And let's go ahead and run this. So now it's rounding down to the month. So their birth date was 9/25. Now it's going to 9/01. So those are a lot of the really popular string and date functions within PostgreSQL. If you already knew all of these, you're a rock star. I don't know why you're watching this, but if you didn't know all of these, I'm glad that you're learning them because they're so useful. If you learned anything, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next lesson.